Welcome to the DevCom Games Industry Podcast with your host, Lars Janssen.
Steve, Ben, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. Before we dive into the complex world of the blockchain and everything related to it, let's start with talking about Cipsoft and the 25th anniversary of your game Tibia. I mean, what an amazing journey it must have been for you guys. So why don't you give us a bit of a rundown of Cipsoft, the story in a nutshell, if you will?
Yes. So I'm Steve. I'm one of the founders and managing directors to this day of Cipsoft. And so I've been on this journey from the very first beginning, from the very first day. And it was 25 years is a very long time. And actually, everything started back in 1995, which is very long ago. And that was when the founders still were going to school. And we started, in the beginning, we just were playing games together. And then later on, we started to get interested in how to develop games. And so in 1995, that was the first time when we got in contact at the university with the internet. And at that time, there were no games online. So they were very simple games, which were just text-based. And we were big fans of the Ultima series, which was not the online Ultima. It didn't exist then. It was offline. They were all offline games, the Ultima series, and we were big fans. And we had this idea of making a game which should feel like Ultima, but you can play it with people from all over the world. And that's when we had the idea for Tibia. And during our studies at university, we were working on the game all the time. And after we finished university, we decided to start our own company, and that's Cipsoft. And the game Tibia is still running to this day. So we just had our anniversary, 25 years for the game. It's online since 25 years, and we're very grateful and very happy that the game is still successful and that we are still around. And it was an absolutely amazing journey to this day.
Yeah, I can imagine. And maybe handing over to Ben here is also on the call. I mean, as far as I'm aware, you haven't been with the company for the entire journey. I mean, how did it feel for you to get on board and to support this? And especially recently in the past couple of years, you guys have really brought some new life into Tibia, even, which is, I think, unheard of. After being live for so many years, there's not too many games that make it to 25 years. So what was your personal experience there?
Okay, so hi, I'm Benjamin. I'm also a managing director, but currently I'm actually working on a new game at the company. So I'm focused with a small development team to build a new MMO. That's what I'm doing right now. So I've been at the company for 15 years now. I had my anniversary on the 1st of February, actually. So it's exactly 15 years ago now.
Congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you very much. I actually knew the company and the game before already. So Tibia wasn't so new for me. But being in the company was new for me. So I actually started my career outside of gaming, and I was in the technical area. So I was doing IT administration for a larger company and looking after servers and making sure that everything runs and works. And then I was talking with Steve because we knew each other back then. And so I came to the company and we talked about company growth and how Cipsoft was growing organically. So the company has always grown organically, and we never hired a lot of people and then had to fire them because we took on too many people. So it was step by step. And back then, when I wasn't at the company, we used to meet every few months, roughly, and talk about things like that. So I tell from the experience of my customers and companies that I knew how they grew, and Steve will tell me about Cipsoft and how they were doing and their strategy for growth in that day. And one day he asked, why don't you come and work for us? We've got a job open, and it would be pretty cool if you could come and work for us and do that. And so I sort of went back and talked with my parents quickly and said, so I've got an offering from the gaming company, and they said, well, yeah, but you've got a secure job. Right?
Typical thing. That's what all parents do, right?
That's what parents say. You've got a secure job. Don't you want to do that? You're earning good money, and So I said, no, I really want to do this. And in retrospective, it was the best decision that I ever made. So that's quite easy in this case now for me to say. I switched to the company and I started at one of our mobile games, which was TBME, which is also still running. It's probably the longest running mobile MMO out there.
It is.
Being the first. So there you are. That launched in 2003 on phones that still have monochrome displays. So that's pretty cool too.
TBME actually has an entry in the book of Guinness World Records for being the first mobile online role-playing game. So, and it's still running, so it has to be the oldest one.
That's right.
It's really cool, and for all the kiddies out there, this is before the first iPhone came out.
That's right. Long
quite a few
before.
years
Long
before.
before
2007 was the first iPhone. So
That's right. That's right.
It's just mind blowing thinking about this right now. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't seem like super long ago, like on the larger scale of things. But on the other hand, for a video game, especially a mobile game, I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
So,
Yes, it is. And I started there as a product manager, and after a while, I sort of worked my way up in the company, and the last few years, I switched to management then, and I was together with Steve. I did the management for, was it 3 or 4 years roughly?
Yeah. Like.
Yeah, and I'm still part of the management team, but my main focus is currently building the new game. So that's where I am. And so the question that you actually asked was, how did the whole thing feel, and the last few years, especially regarding Tibia and the growth that we had. And I'd say it this way, that the company started as a small company. So it was the 4 founders, and then few people sort of came, to get off workload. So I think the first one that came was someone who did customer support and helped them not delete emails, but actually answer emails for customers. So that was the first person to come. And over the time, a lot of more people came. But at the beginning, it was a small company, and it felt very, like a family, and just, I don't know. When I came, I think we were like 20, 23 people roughly, and today we're nearly 100 people at the company. So over the time, what happened is that we became more professional, and I think the switch came about 7 years ago that we switched to being a more professional company altogether, and it was part of our strategy to become a more professional company, obviously, too. So we made quite a few changes, also in management, with personnel, and a lot of things and processes at the company to support more growth. And I think the reason why we didn't do it before was that we were still overwhelmed with the growth of Tibia for a long time. So Tibia started as a student project on university servers, and then went to founding a company and actually becoming a real product. And it was at a time when the internet was so new and everyone was excited about everything there, and especially games. And if you could play a game like that, Tibia never did ads. There was no advertising. The players came all by themselves. So you didn't really have to do anything. Everyone just came, and it grew and grew and grew. And the company at that stage wasn't grown up enough to support that growth aggressively, like a lot of other companies did at the time. And so the company was really focused on just, keeping up with all the demand coming in, and actually buying servers and configuring them and driving them to the server location and putting them in a rack there, which you don't do nowadays anymore. But back then you physically had to put servers into server rooms and actually connect them with the internet.
In the beginning, we actually used a screwdriver to build the servers, which we then drove to the data center. So that at that time there was no other option. So it was really, these were the early days, and now you just can click them and add them to the cloud. It's a different time now.
It's crazy. And so I think this was the phase where a few other companies, a few competitors grew aggressively because they were more grown up as a company already, and they had the resources and the knowledge how to do these things. And for us, this step came a little bit later. And that was roughly ago, I'd say about 7-8 years ago when we took this step. And so since then, we've been working in a much more professional way, and ultimately that has led to more growth and extra growth, especially for Tibia.
And that's the part that I find so interesting in your case. A lot of companies, especially the ones that were also around relatively early on, maybe a little later than you guys were, but the likes of GameForge or BigPoint or Travian, all companies that grew, InnoGames, I should mention as well, all companies that grew rather quickly and had a similar original story, but then at some point when they started to professionalize themselves, they usually did it with other titles. So there were new titles coming, and at least for some of them, and they were the ones that actually drove the growth for those organizations. But for you, the thing that I find so amazing is that you were able to breathe new life into a product and make the product grow that you originally became famous for. And that's something that I've never seen anywhere else. So what did you do? I mean, how can you actually bring new life to a product that has been out there for 20 years and still, people are playing it, and not only do they keep playing it, but they apparently bring others again or spend more money or whatever it is. So,
Yes.
so that's the thing, that's the part that I think a lot of people would like to hear a little bit about.
Well, I think the truth is we never stopped working on it. So I think up to this day we have never spent so much resources on still developing Tibia even further. So we never stopped adding new features and adding new content, and I think that's one part of the secret why we're successful. But other than that, what was very, very important for us at some point, and I think it was also like maybe 7 years ago, was to really realize to listen more closely to our players. It was very important to really tackle the problems the community is interested in, and to really focus on the things that the players want. So for a very long time, we focused on player acquisition to get new players into the game, and at some point we realized we are not that good at getting new players anymore, and then we started again listening closer to the existing players, and that was a very important step for us, I think. So what we know now is if you make the game better for the existing players, it will also be better for the new players, because there are reasons why the people are asking for the things they want, and I think we managed to make the game even better over the years, and that's an important key, I think, to the late success of the game still to this day. And of course, what we have to see is that the pandemic had a huge impact on the game, obviously. So many players returned during the last 2 years and came back, which we never expected would happen on this scale, basically. And and it was cool to see that so many old players, veterans, came back and played again, and so they really brought new life to the game during that time. So I think that's also very, very special, and the pandemic time was especially for Cipsoft. It had a very big impact.
We did grow before that, though, and I think what was important there was what you said, that we solved their problems. So they had like 3 main problems, which was botting, it was connection via the internet, so lag and server availability, and the third one is more related to stuff in the game, so balancing and stuff that came in the updates. And we managed to solve the first 2 problems for the first time after a long time. So we did have solutions in the past for these things, but they never held up very long. So they were only like short-term solutions. And then, we used to have DDoS attacks that actually brought down data centers for weeks. And we actually got kicked out by a data center once because they were not pleased this happened, and their other customers complained heavily about it, and they terminated the contract with us then. But we managed to solve these problems in the last few years by really working hard on these things, and the game is now basically as bot-free as you can get it. It's obviously never completely bot-free, because they write new things and do new things, and you need to detect them again and solve it again. But we're on the upper hand of the battle at the moment, and that is one of the things that I think added a lot of players over the time that came back and played the game again, because these were very big problems, and it would have killed the game ultimately if they would have been there over the long term.
Do you think that a success like Tibia, running this game for 25 years is possible these days? So do you think, like, with new games that you're that you have in the making? I mean, Ben, you mentioned that you're working on a new MMO as well. Do you think that this can be done again? That in 25 years from now, or maybe in, I don't know, however long development time, maybe in after development time, 20 years from then or so, the game is still running out there and people are coming back? Or do you think, like, the industry has changed a bit, that if you have a new game right now, people don't stick around for so long?
I think it will work, but, and there's the big but, it's not as easy as it was back then. So when Tibia came out, it was something completely new, and the people just came from alone. And we didn't spend one marketing dollar back then, and it took a very long time until we actually spent the first marketing dollar. And that Tibia was big already then. I don't think that is possible with a new MMO anymore. You can't just launch it and people will be interested in it. Nowadays, the reality is you launch the game and no one cares about it. So that has definitely changed. But I think if you think about MMOs, it's actually not building the game, it's building a community. And if you succeed in that, yes, it can last for decades.
Yeah.
And I think the good old MMORPGs like Tibia, the fantasy online role-playing games, they are very broad. They are appealing to many different kind of players, and they are not as specialized as many new titles which come out. So you will find in Tibia and in other role-playing games players who just want to socialize. Others are looking for achievements. Again, others are looking for the competition, and there are actually many different playing styles which you can have in the game. And I think that's also one important reason why it can be successful for such a long time. I think if a game is a lot more specialized on a specific target group, it will be more difficult to sustain the success for a long time. I think that was something very important for Tibia, that you have a lot of freedom in the game, and people today are playing the game probably in a different way than they were playing it 20 years ago. So that changed, and in Tibia there's room for that. So that's important, I think.
Yeah, and I think adapting to your community is what you both said is very much key to all the games out there that live for a long time. Always provide staying fresh and letting people enjoy this over and over again, not just having fun for a couple hours, but then asking yourself the question as developers that the community will ask themselves as well, like, what can I do a year or 2 or 3 into the game? Yes. What makes this fun, and how can I play together with the community that I helped build as well. Yeah. So I mean, Ben, you mentioned that when new games get released right now, sometimes no one cares, and you need to somehow draw attention to the game. There's one area of topics, a cluster of topics, I would say, which is also why we are here today, that apparently, gets a lot of attention these days, and everybody seems to care one way or the other. Some think it's the devil and it must be vanquished. Others think like there's really some useful, areas in there.
Salvation.
Or the salvation. Yeah, it's a silver bullet for everything we want to do. So if you walk into a room of games industry people these days and you say the word NFT, then it's always interesting what happens. So, but what we want to do today is hopefully shed some light onto that topic. And you guys have been working in the area of blockchain technology over the last couple of years with the game Lightbringer, and in general did some research and implemented that in the game. So I was just trying to pick your brains a little bit and help our DevCom community to understand that field a little better. So what I would want to start with is a bit of, talking about the different terms that we have here. So if you talk to somebody about NFTs, they usually use it synonymously with blockchain and crypto, and it's everything is thrown in the same pot. And then it was like, yeah, this is the the hot shit, and everybody needs to get in there. And if you don't do it, then you can't make money anymore. It's the same like free to play. You got to do it. Everybody else will see that if they don't, then their games are not going to work. And then you have quite a few that say, like, if there's one NFT in the game, and if they just jump on the bandwagon, then they're not going to play it anymore. So with that, now over to you. How do we solve this? Maybe you can explain a little bit, what you looked into when you developed Lightbringer, what in general can be of value for the games industry when we talk about the blockchain, and how these things are interconnected. And then we can maybe dive a bit deeper in some of the areas and see, how we can educate our community here at DEF CON a little bit.
Yeah. So I think I was the first at Cipsoft who was looking into all the stuff. So I got interested in Bitcoin, I think 2012 and 2013, which was quite early, and I was just experimenting with the tech. I was fascinated by the property that it is completely decentralized, but still it administrates possessions basically, even though there's no central database. So and I was fascinated by that, and I looked into that. And for a long time, I was experimenting with the technology and with the concept behind it. Long before I thought about gaming in connection with blockchain technology, and I think it was not until like 2014 or 15 when I realized that there's a connection between what happens in online games and what's possible with blockchain technology. And basically the concept which is important to understand is that in online gaming you always had possessions, or people were playing and were actually achieving something which they felt belongs to them. So they have possessions in the game which are very dear and important to them. And since we are running an online game for a very long time, we have a very thorough understanding of this, I think. And we always saw that players were trading the stuff they earned. Usually it was forbidden, so that's like account trading and these things. So people want to pass on the things that they earned in the game to someone else. And that's something which blockchain technology absolutely supports. So that's what the blockchain technology can do. And so that was when we understood, or when I understood that there's a connection which you really should look into if you're interested in gaming and in blockchain technology. So we can come back later to that. So to answer your question, so I think you have to separate the different keywords which you said. So the foundation of everything is a blockchain technology. That's basically just the software which is running on computers around the world, and which allows to have a decentralized database of things, of belongings usually. So and the interesting thing about it is, even though there's no company or no person actually taking care of that everything is okay, and it's running, even though it's decentralized. So that's the very new concept about blockchain technology. And so in the beginning, you usually only had the so-called fungible tokens, and these were the coins which everyone knows now. So Bitcoin is a fungible token basically, or Ethereum, which was founded later, and all the other coins, Litecoin for example, these were coins, or like a currency which you could own and pass on to other people, and it's managed in a decentralized way and on the blockchain. And and so a kind of relatively new concept is a concept of non-fungible tokens. So coins, you can't really tell the difference from one coin from another. So every Bitcoin is the same basically. And if you have 10 Bitcoins, there's no difference between the 10 Bitcoins. You can just pass on 5 of them and then add 3 others, and then maybe you have 8. And so they are fungible. But non-fungible tokens are basically
Every token is unique.
yeah, these are unique virtual objects. So they are still administrated on the blockchain. So it's still decentralized, but you can have very individual specific objects. Like in a game, maybe different items, swords with different stats, and so on. And the crypto community and the whole technology evolved to that point that NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are supported in a way that you can actually use them somehow. Yeah. So, and that's what happened during the past years, and we've seen in the crypto space many projects. Taking the advantage of NFT technology to create NFTs, and the interest was well, you can say it was a hype during the past years, well, not years, month basically, which really made some of these projects very successful. Based on the success of the fungible tokens before that, so people got quite rich with fungible tokens and then decided to invest them in non-fungible tokens, and so many people got rich quick, and of course then there's a huge interest from everywhere what happens there and what's the matter. But up until now there isn't really a big connection between gaming and cryptocurrency or non-fungible tokens. So everyone is expecting that this will be somehow important and successful in the future, but up until now, it's still in its infancy, I would say.
So let's maybe start with the basics when talking about NFTs. If I purchase an item, or if I acquire an item, doesn't need to be purchased in a game that supports NFTs, what do I actually own? The concept of ownership is something that a lot of people talk about. It's like, hey, I really own this. I own the first tweet. I own like Charlie Bit My Finger YouTube video.
Yeah.
So what is it that you actually own? In a lot of cases, you could technically just still have the video, but you don't own it. And what's the difference? So maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that so that people understand what they possess if they have an NFT.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting question, because
and a nasty answer to it.
Oh, I love nasty answers. That's great.
Because up until now, it's in the most cases for NFTs, it's just not defined what you actually own. It's undefined. So you can think of an NFT that there's somewhere a database, and there you can find the information that you own an item or something basically. Yeah, and well, most NFTs in the past, they were just pictures, so JPEGs or something like that, which were kind of art based, and so basically all you can find in the database is a link to the image, which is stored on some server on the internet, and the information that there's an owner to this entry. So, but at the same time, there isn't really defined what this means. So what does it mean to own this reference to an image? And most
There's no
projects,
license agreement.
yeah, there's no license agreement. There are there's nothing basically. And still, even though this is undefined, the interest is huge out there in the world to own one of these entries basically. So what is there is scarcity. So you can define that certain things are rare and people are interested in that, but at the same time there's no function assigned to it and no rights assigned to it in most projects basically. And that's something which is well, it's just messy, because of course people who are buying NFTs have certain expectations what they are buying there, but it's not really there. If they really want to I don't know, say other people you cannot use the image because it's mine. No, you don't have any legal agreement which you can show that this is yours or not. So it's really undefined up until now, but you can do that. So you can give this a legal constitution and define what rights are assigned to this database entry, which is your NFT. It's not yet really done properly, but I think it will start. And on the one hand, you have these legal aspects. On the other hand, you have function possibly in certain services. So what you can do is, if you have an online service, you can say, if you own a certain NFT, you have certain functions on the platform. So for online gaming, for example, what you can do is you can certainly find out who has which NFT, and only these people who own the NFT have a certain item in the game. So that's where actually there's real value added to the NFT, and it's also defined what you will get. Yeah. So and I think we will see a lot more of that in the future, and more definition of what new NFTs are and what you will get from them. But up until now, it's really messy, and in most cases, it's just undefined.
Yeah, one of the impressions I have is that a lot of what is right now being experimented with in terms of NFTs, or is solved through NFTs, are things that have been done for many, many years just through a regular item shop, if you will, in the game. So, I mean, as game developers in an online world, of course you can define scarcity. Of course you can say, like, of this particular item, there's only 10 that exist. With a difference, at least the way I see it, you know, the items being stored in your database. Of course, you're the authority. You tell, you know, these 10 people can have this particular sword, and you might even allow trading. You might even allow, like, the really transfer of ownership to another player, and you know, if it's against, you know, some purchase or gold or whatever you have in the game, you might even take a cut in that. So all of these things are doable for developers. So I think where this gets interesting, correct me if I'm wrong here, would be that interoperability it plays a major role. So I think the key difference that you can only accomplish with something like an NFT is probably that this NFT can at some point, if you know the things that you talked about before, Steve, are defined, that you know that there's an agreement on this has value somewhere else. So for example, you buy something in your game, and let's say Lightbringer or Tibia or whatever it is, there's an NFT, and with that you can go to, give you an extreme example right now, you can to World of Warcraft and you also get something for that particular, you know, entitlement you have, that NFT. Now that seems a bit unrealistic, at least in the short term. So I would love to get your thoughts on how you see this. Why NFTs right now, and what's the big advantage compared to just, you know, running the database on your own, since it's most of the time anyway connected to only your game or your set of games on your particular platform?
That's exactly the point. There is no point right now. There is no value added.
Thank you so much for the podcast. I think
that is the big problem. So for a games company, you know, there's one thing, you can do skins, okay, and you could have a skin that you can use in another game if they allow that, and you know, you could you see a lot of these collaboration things in Fortnite, for instance, where you can play an Uncharted character or a character from another game franchise. That's totally okay, because it's, you know, it's just the skin changing your look in the game, and if your game says that's totally fine with my immersion, we don't care what you look like, and you can run around. Yes, these games that support it, you could have an NFT owning, you know, a Wolverine, and then run around in different games looking like Wolverine. Where it gets difficult to near impossible from our point of view is that as soon as you have an item that requires gameplay in the game, so, you know, I can't take the big fucking gun from Doom and then go into Fortnite and shoot around with it there. It's not going to work, because first of all, someone would have to implement it, which is difficult already, and then it would just break with the game and the balancing and everything. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work for the game developer. It probably wouldn't work for the player either. And so that's one problem that occurs. Another problem is that a lot of gaming companies obviously want to keep control over their systems and their IP and all these things. And the usage of your IP and items and assets would spread onto various other projects. And also that is a problem for bigger companies. Let's talk about Marvel or things like that. They won't just allow anyone to use their assets in their game. Why would they? Associated with a certain quality level. And what would happen if I go with my Marvel character into a really bad experience and have a video of it, and that's online, and everyone can see, my Marvel character in a shitty game otherwise? That's something that they do not want, because they protect their IP on this case. So I think that's the bit where it breaks. And the problem at the moment is that NFTs don't really add a real value for the player. They propose a value for game developers and publishers as a new income source, but there's no real value proposition for the player.
Let me interrupt you here real quick. So if they propose a value to the developer or the publisher of a game, but there's no value for the player, would you say then there's just a information gap, that if players knew that it doesn't actually provide any value to them, they would not jump on it? Or what's the message here? Because apparently, some publishers, some developers have been making quite a bit of money with that, not only in terms of games. I know there's the NFL and others, they're selling video snippets that you own and stuff like that. I just wonder if it's just because people don't actually know what they're buying.
Well, that's one perspective, but the question was, what is the value added, and what can you do with NFT technology in gaming, which you can't do without NFTs? And I think the USP basically is that you can realize the value of your possessions with NFT technology, with blockchain technology. So if you own something in a classic online game like Tibia, it's not that easy to sell your valuable sword to someone and get cash out of it, basically, to realize the real value of this thing. Because of course you can give it to someone else in the game, and then you have to hope that somehow the money of the buyer will get to you. So there is no security here, and there's no transaction security here, and that's what the blockchain technology enables, that it's possible between different players to trade stuff and actually get, well, not real money, but cryptocurrency for that, and that's just as good as money for the most people. And that's the special thing about blockchain technology in games. That, for example, in Tibia, we have seen Tibia players trading items and complete accounts for many years, and it's in most cases it's forbidden in Tibia, just because there's so much fraud involved. So usually people are always scammed, basically. So because it's not secure, you always have to trust the other party to actually transfer money or something for the thing which you are selling. And
what if you, as a publisher running the game, provided the platform? I mean, wouldn't that solve the issue?
Yes, that would solve the issue. And some projects, like Project Entropia or something, some other projects have done this in the past. But the problem with that is that you will have to pay out. Basically, you have to be the intermediary between the two parties who want to transact, and in this case, you have to pay out the seller. You have to give them the money. You can implement it, but the problem with that is you will have to be a bank. Basically, you need a banking license to do that. Otherwise, it's forbidden. And most gaming companies didn't really feel like being a banking company. And so, if you want to really administer accounts of money enable the players to get the money back, to get the money out of this account, you will need a banking license, and that's something which you don't really want to do as a individual or even as a gaming company, because there are so many things involved with achieving that. Blockchain technology basically solves this because it's decentralized. You are not the instance which is responsible for the transaction. It's handled by the technology, and you don't need a banking license to do that.
So Blizzard did it with Diablo 3. They had the auction house where they cooperated with the Fedor Bank. So the Fedor Bank bid this part was the banking license and paying out to the customers. So take apart that it was the game design problem that the shop brought with it and why they removed it. But the whole idea behind it was that players can trade it with each other and they can actually sell items to other people. And it's supposed to be a win-win-win situation. So as a seller, I get money for an item that I want to sell. As a buyer, I actually get the item for the money that I want to pay for it. And the company takes a little share for making sure that it's a secure transaction. So everyone actually would be happy if the gameplay supports the whole thing, which didn't work good in Diablo 3 because the whole way the game progresses and you just buy stuff to actually get on instead of playing the game. It sort of broke with the whole system. The game worked a little bit, but that's basically what it can do as technology, and where it can solve problems for each party involved, which is something what players then will also accept. So I think a player who sees, okay, look, I can do this, and this is not the main purpose of the game. Okay, there's actually a game there that I play, but if I want to do this, if I want to participate in this trading, there is a secure way that I can do it, and that's supported, and that's a great thing. Then no one's forcing you to do this. So it's not the main purpose of the game just to trade items and make money. The purpose of the game is to have fun in the game, and that's why the players are there. And I think that's also perhaps one of the misconceptions that you see at the moment is that there are basically two communities. So you've got the crypto community, and they do things in a certain way. So they speculate a lot, they invest money, they pump, they dump, they do crazy things.
And they want to earn money more
yes.
than anything else. Yeah.
And they actually don't care about the game. They often put money into things where there is no game. There's a promise of a game. There's some random assets that someone bought in an asset store and put on a website, but there's no game. But they'll invest in that. Yeah. On the other hand, you've got the gaming community. Players that have been playing, AAA games, console games, PC games, whatever. And those people are not, they don't have to be into the technology. They don't have to understand blockchain, all these things. And they actually don't care about the gambling bit because what they're into is the game. So these things don't actually match 100%. So what is happening now, what you can see now is that gaming companies are taking things that are working in the crypto scene and just applying them one-to-one onto gaming, and then it fails because it's a different expectation that the customers have.
But now we're getting to kind of the core of this issue, the way I see it right now. So how do you make this compatible? How do you provide value to the players and at the same time provide value to, let's say, the crypto community? So how do you get those people with this play to earn mindset? Like they go in there, they want to make some money with that. How do you bring this together with people that want to enjoy the game for fun? I mean, one of the examples that you've probably seen in your game, but I know from my World of Warcraft time, there's a lot of people that just go into the game, grinding to get gold, and then they sold it outside of the game to some others with all the problems that caused, and of course Activision Blizzard was at some point trying to somehow allow this, not really, but a little bit, trade against playtime and things like that. So those are, all like door openers. But how do you bring this together? So what if in a big MMO or a big online game, all of a sudden, this was part of the core of the game? Do you think it's possible to kind of marry those two groups? And if so, what does it take?
Yes, I absolutely think that it's possible, and that there's a possible combination of both topics, which is very, very interesting for the players. And I think the starting point should be just a good game. The starting point is just a game which is fun to play, which is an online game, and people are playing it, and they will have achievements, they will have progress, and they will start to have values in the games, virtual objects or gold or whatever. So in this case, the players will have some feeling of ownership for these things which they worked for basically in the game, and
players actually say it, don't they? So a lot of our players, if I jump in quickly, a lot of our players, when we ask them, when they lose an item because of a bug, something like that, they'll tell us, "Hey, I worked months to get this item." They didn't have fun playing. For them, it's I worked months to get this item. We're talking about a traditional MMO, no blockchain, no NFT, right? So
yes, right.
That's the point.
So I think if you just look at classic online games, you will have in the community this natural understanding of ownership and possession of certain things, and things will have value to them. And in these games, you will always have a black market. Even now, even if there's no blockchain technology involved, you will have a black market between players who are trading these things. And I think that's the point where blockchain technology will be very helpful and can come in handy and enable this trading between players in a secure and a meaningful manner, basically. And it's possible for the gaming companies to implement it without needing a banking license or something like that. So I think that's the trading part. Yeah. So blockchain technology is just basically a trading technology, I would say. Yeah. So who owns what and how is it transferred from one to the other in a way that it's safe and secure, and that you can have a deal in both directions which is secure. And that's, I think, the gaming industry needs to take a look at and support to be successful. What you should not do, on the other hand, is just sell NFTs. So that's the bad take on it. So if the company thinks, oh, hey, there's a possible to make a quick buck just by selling content or items in the game as NFTs, that's probably a bad idea, because all you will get is people jumping in and try to make quick money at it from it, and the items which are interesting to the real players, they will be very, very expensive, and the real players will be pissed because of that. And so it's a bad idea just to begin with selling NFTs to start with. You really should look at the other end. If you have a game which is working and there are items which are valuable in the game independently from blockchain technology, then I think you have a basis to build on and to actually support blockchain technology.
Unfortunately, the outlook of quick money, is very promising to a lot of people, and that's why they just introduce this without thinking about it. I mean, that's always where it gets a little tricky, and it was my feeling looking at the past couple of months when everybody talked about NFTs, and when we saw a few experiments from bigger companies, bigger publishers introducing them in their games, where they then had to take a step back after community shitstorms and everything. That a lot of them weren't able to explain to their communities what the added value is and what the value proposition of introducing those NFTs is, because everything you were talking about, transfer of ownership and making sure items can be securely transferred to others, this makes sense, and this is something that people will probably get behind. But looking at some new games where they have land that they sell in the game even before the game is even a thing, and then they go in there, and then there's like people acquiring those NFTs, and you're spending millions. I mean, I was really blown away by how much money was going into that for a game that wasn't even a thing yet. I don't think this can work long term, but unfortunately, and I have to say unfortunately, it seems to be working for quite a few people, and this is the part that I don't quite get. And you probably also don't have an answer for why it works, but I guess it's in human nature that we try to play with these things if we can.
Yes.
The big problem is also that the question is it going to be long term? So there's a lot of money going in there, but usually only a few people become rich with it, and someone has to pay for it. So a lot of people are losing money at the end, in general in crypto. So there's a part that wins money, and somewhere that has to come from. So someone else is losing money. That's how it works. And I think that's what people don't see. They just see the shiny thing at the top, and everyone can become a millionaire now by just investing $1 or something. But that's not going to work. It's not going to work for most people, and most people are going to lose their dollar, and someone else is going to take it.
And also I want to come back to the insight that the crypto community and the gaming community are not the same. They are very different. That's what we learned also in Lightbringer. That there's no really interconnection between them. And if your game is interesting, or you want your game to be interesting for the crypto community, you will have a concept which enables the players to speculate on items and to it's a get rich quick scheme basically, which this audience is looking for, and that's not what the traditional players are looking for. They are looking for a game which is fun to play. They are not looking for a way to make money. So here you cannot start with these different concepts and just say, so that's one thing and everyone will be happy, the players and the crypto community. These are really different things. And I think the right take for the gaming industry is to look at the games which in the long term will create valuable things, which then can be put on the blockchain as NFTs. That's interesting, but not the other way around.
So what we will see is new game concepts coming up that are only interesting for people in the crypto community, and regular gamers will probably not be very interested in it. We will see those. I think we will see new gaming concepts coming up in the crypto scene and becoming very big, probably in value more than traditional companies. But it's going to be, they're not going to attract the regular console AAA player. They're not going to attract this player.
These will be different kind of games, and many traditional players would say that's not even a game. That's something else, and I'm not interested in it. So, but yes, the crypto community. Things are evolving very fast, and new concepts are tried out all the time. And it's a bit like in the beginning we just had CryptoKitties. Yeah, it was not even a game. No one would say it. Yeah, but now something like Axie Infinity is basically CryptoKitties with a few gaming features added, basically, and it will grow from there, and we will see a lot of things there, but still I think it will take a long time before traditional gamers will be interested in these things actually. So,
and I think to your point before, if a game is not fun, then I think most people will probably be not interested. I mean, when I say most people, most gamers will probably be not interested. I couldn't agree more. And so far, this I think is the biggest challenge that we're seeing, because in all those applications of NFT so far, and almost all of them, I would say, this was just not there. There was no added value. It was not for fun. It was just for speculation, and because it's pretty hip right now to introduce it. And I think this is of course not sustainable in the long run. Big problem being there, like a lot of investors also looking into that space right now, again, because a lot of money can be made, maybe not with gamers, but then with the crypto community or people that somehow feel they could be part of that. And as long as that's the case, I think a lot of game developers will always think about this, because they know they can get some additional investment if they put an NFT label onto their product, and that's where it gets complicated, I think.
That's true. A lot of dump money is in the market looking for projects which just have the right tax on them, like NFT and blockchain technology. That's true.
And I don't want to demonize the people necessarily, so don't get me wrong. It's just it's a very complex topic. As you can see, we've already just scratched the surface a little bit of NFTs, and it's still it can already get very complex, and there's so much more to that space. So there was one thing that I wanted to ask you as well, because we talked about transfer of ownership, obviously being the one value proposition there. So other than that, looking at the blockchain, do you currently see any additional value that it can provide to games apart from the ownership of items?
Yeah, well, there are many things going on, and many things are tried out right now. So it's very interesting to look at it. And we just mentioned before the topic of
interoperability. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a complicated one. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So we said it doesn't really work for items in the game, but maybe it will work for other things which are important to the players. And one thing might be, for example, names. So there's this NFT-based service on Ethereum, which is called ENS, and it's basically just a namespace, and you can trade names. And the crypto space, every project can decide to build on these names, and that could be, for example, even for gaming, very valuable, because if you buy your name, your dream name as ENS name, and then you are sure that you can use this name in all different kind of games because they all support the ENS namespace. That's, for example, something which adds value to the players, to the game. There will be even players who are looking for games where they can use their name because they think it's cool to use their own name which belongs to them. So that, for example, is something which is some interesting added value which you can build on as a game developer, for example.
Yeah, I find this very interesting because this is ultimately, I think, what is going to kind of make or break this in the long run. If we find ways to make it interoperable, if I know I can have something in one ecosystem and I can use it in a different one as well, maybe not in the same way. With names, it's pretty obvious, but I've recently heard of an example of, like, I think was it a Prada, a Gucci dress or something, that if you bought the real one, you could actually have it as a virtual item in was it Zoom or Teams, or they were doing like a test there. So this is something that I think is like a small application of what's doable there. And I think a lot of companies are thinking about, how can I make this interoperable? How can I provide added value to this? Or if you buy, an NFT for an item in a game, technically you could also acquire, like, I don't know, a blueprint for 3D printing for this thing that only you own or something like that. I mean, of course it can be copied, so it's a bit of a question, but I think I've heard many of those discussions that where people were thinking about, how can I add something to basically just owning something virtual that is hard to grasp for people.
Yeah. The problem is always that every service has to support the NFT in every project. So just because you have some kind of dress from some well-known brand, it's not dressable in every game. So the game developer has to implement it. So, but I think if there's a huge demand by the player base to actually support certain kinds of NFTs, like the names, for example, I think that's a good example. Then more and more developers will support them, and then there might grow something from that. Yeah, but I think, for example, like 3D assets, it's very complicated to make them work in every game. So
obviously, I mean, like you said before, everybody has to integrate it somehow, has to make sure it's compatible with the game. It it's visually, but also from a game design point of view, it's a lot of work to make this possible.
We're sort of drifting into the metaverse thing now a little bit, and so if you look at what Facebook or Meta, the company, is doing, what they're offering is this avatar system, and they're basically saying companies can build on their avatar system. Which is then the foundation that a lot of these things actually work. So everyone's going to use the same avatar system, All games will look alike. That's the bad news about it. They will look alike and feel the same with this technology. But you can then make sure that all these assets that you get from somewhere else will actually work in all these games using the same system. So the big question is going to be, do game companies actually want to commit to a system of the big tech company? And at the moment, my point of view is that the four big tech companies have been pushing it a little bit too far, and their power over the system, also over the gaming system now, is getting bigger and bigger. And a lot of gaming companies are actually quite concerned about what is happening there. And I would think twice about giving up a part of my game actually and giving it into the hand of an external big company. My game won't work without it anymore, and it's not going to be one company building the metaverse, whatever it's going to be, if it's going to be something, but it will be hundreds of companies building it, and that's going to be the big problem. So how's this going to work with hundreds of companies building something that it's not just running around and having a house?
Yeah.
I don't know how it's supposed to work. So you've got Player One, the movie, which is sort of the idea that they're all chasing, where you sort of jump into this part of the instance of the world, and this is a shooter game now, and then we play a shooter game. And if I jump out of that instance, then I'm in a role-playing game, and my avatar sort of stats up and whatever. And that is miles away. Technology-wise, gameplay-wise, and all these things, we're miles away of getting anywhere near that idea. So I'm really interested to see what's going to happen. And I think we talked about it earlier, Steve, today. So in our opinion, the gaming companies haven't found a good match with NFTs yet. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And the one good thing about dumb money is that a lot of things get tried out.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of people innovate stuff and try out and fail and fail and fail. And at some stage, someone's going to find something where everyone says, "Oh yeah, that's actually pretty cool." And some players might also say, "Yeah, that works for us too." And then we've got something new that will work. And but it's going to be a hard way to get there, looking at the current situation.
Yeah, I would totally agree. There's one aspect that I was wondering about as well, like how complicated is all of this for players right now? I mean, obviously, if we talk about NFTs and want to, you want to manage what you own, I mean, we have to go into stuff like wallets and how you set this up and all of that. So, I mean, it's quite a hassle for a lot of people to actually to go through that. Maybe we can talk a bit about this and what your thoughts are in that area.
The usability of all the stuff is a big issue, and it's nowhere close where it has to be really appealing to the mainstream, basically. So you really have to get some technical knowledge of what you are doing if you want to do something with even as a user, not as a developer. As a user, you have to understand what a wallet is, what addresses mean, what a private key is, and you really have to have you need to grasp some concept of which are very security relevant, basically. Otherwise, it's very easy to lose stuff.
Everything, and no one can help you.
Yeah, and the bad side of the decentralized technology is no one can help you. So if the stuff is gone, there is no authority which can help you. It's just gone. And I think for the end user, which is not really very knowledgeable about what he's doing, it can be a nightmare, basically. And it will take a few more years so that all this stuff gets really more usable and more user-friendly, and we're still very early, I think. And that's also a reason why I think the gaming industry and traditional gamers, which don't know anything about cryptocurrency, they will have a very hard time to really get the benefit out of all of that, because they don't know how to trade cryptocurrency or how to use a wallet, and it's still a long journey, I guess.
And in addition to that, there's another topic that comes in there that is really, really a problem. So the whole thing should be labeled, please be full of age. because cryptocurrencies bring a lot of legal issues, and legislation in every country is different. And basically, what you're doing might be illegal or cause taxable events. And a lot of gamers in the mainstream, that they're not going to think about, if I now buy this and sell it to someone else, actually have to report it to the tax office or something like that. Yeah. Or is it legal to actually now download this and use it or whatever? And so there's a very big gray zone there now where people are doing things, they're just pushing forward, like the early internet. The companies are pushing forward, and they don't really care about laws, and the laws don't quite know how to do things yet. So, you've got all those countries looking at crypto stuff, and they're going, "Oh, well, we need to regulate you guys. We don't know how yet, but we need to regulate this." And so there's a legal minefield, not only for the companies actually doing these things, but also for the customer. And that is a very, very big issue for mainstream gaming. You can't have a product out there where your customer might actually be breaking the law somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have a ton of money in that field. We have a lot of questions, technical complexity and so on. So now I would like to ask you finally to take out your crystal balls, and look a bit into the future. I mean, obviously, we all don't know exactly what's going to happen. What do you think? Like, how's the journey going to look like? For the next couple of years. What's the next thing that you think is going to happen, or what does it take for a breakthrough in that space? So I mean, we covered some of the areas, but I'm just to kind of wrap up this episode, which we, by the way, could continue for hours. I'm curious, what your thoughts are. What's the future for this?
I think it will take a lot more time. It depends what a lot more means, but we are not there yet. So I think right now both spaces will develop independently. The cryptocurrency space will move a bit more towards gaming, and the gaming space will find out at what points you can incorporate crypto technology, and they will over time move closer together. I don't think we will see the killer project within the next 6 months, which will be the perfect combination of gaming and cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. I don't think it's that easy to do right. So I think it will be more of an evolution of different of these two fields, and maybe 2 or 3 years from now in the future, or maybe 4 years in the future, we will see the first really interesting combinations of blockchain technology and gaming. But it's not that easy to write, I think.
I actually think it's going to be later, for the main reason that I think that the step that we need, that blockchain technology and all those crypto projects themselves can actually thrive properly, is they need regulation. So they need the states to regulate the space and make it legal and give certainty. And it's starting, but that's going to take quite a long time still until that's through, and the international community has settled on a standard that you can actually apply on. And not until that happened, I think you will have a breakthrough in either way. So for crypto to become really mainstream, you'll need that, unless it's just speculating, right? But for actual product to work, even as a payment method, it's still, in most countries, it's not viable as a payment method. You can't use it because it's a taxable event or something like that. So it will take that step to actually give it a breakthrough. And on the other hand, I also think that for gaming, at the moment, it's like experiments. So gaming companies they're always looking for new technology. They always are looking for new platforms that they can use and distribute their games. So you're always going to look: is there, VR glasses? Can we use that? Can we make a game? Is that going to be viable? Same things with crypto. It's not that the gaming companies started and said, "Oh, crypto technology is really awesome. I believe in the whole mission of decentralized money." No, it's a big platform. It's an opportunity, and they don't want to miss it, because that's the worst thing that can happen to bigger gaming companies, is to miss a technology opportunity and then not be there when it gets important. So what we're seeing now is experiments saying this platform might become interesting later on, and we'll try it out. So we want to be a first mover. We don't want to be last in this technology again. So we missed one before. We don't want to miss out on this one. And that's what we're seeing at the moment. It's just dabbling.
What's really interesting is that is the decentralized nature of the blockchain technology, and it's really in a good sense it's complete chaos, and so many teams are trying things all the time, and there are so many people right now looking for applications for blockchain technology. It will be very exciting to see what happens during the next months and years, and my bet would be that not the big players, the established players in gaming industry will have the big successes, but it will come from outsiders, just because there's so much going on, and I think it will be surprising for every one of us that some new team we never heard of will have huge success with a project which works in a way which we three have never thought of. That's my guess.
What I also would like to add for the midterm is I think companies with success in the crypto space will buy traditional game developers. I think that is going to happen too. So they've got a lot of money, and what they need is like the credibility in the gaming space, and they think that by buying a gaming company, they will get that. I think this will happen, and that they will be buying gaming companies.
And then they will fail. That's my guess.
Yes, yes. I was going to add that too, yes.
Yeah.
But that's what I see for the next 1-2 years happening as well, yes.
So many opportunities. I think that's what we can all agree on for many people, maybe including our audience here. You know, I mean, Steve, you said like might be a small team that we haven't even thought of who's, going to crack this thing. So I think there's going to be a very exciting few years ahead of us, and, seeing what happens there. I want to thank you so much, Ben and Steve, for being here for this episode today with lots of insights into that space. I think we covered at least a few topics right now. We would have to talk a lot more, to really dig deeper into some of the minefields that we're talking about. But I think it was super helpful for our DevCom community, and thank you very much for being part of this podcast. We get together at some point and see where we stand, in terms of blockchain and NFTs. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us. It was fun talking about it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Lars.
Thank you for listening to the DevCom Games Industry Podcast, presented by devcom.global, produced by Sven Vossing. Executive producer, Stefan Reichart. Music by WeLoveIndies.com. Supported by Biodynamic, high-quality headphones, microphones, and conference systems for professional musicians and gamers, made in Germany.